Okay, so I'm with Mike and Amy at the Treasure Finders place where they're giving out clues. And Mike and Amy did this a while ago and they found one of the treasures. Tell me how you found out about this, how you, why you got involved, what you thought about it, and how you found the treasure.
Awesome. So
and what you found. What
yes, we can. So we were driving home last summer. So the Treasure Finders launched last summer, July of 2020. We were driving home and I saw an ad on Facebook that said there was $3,000 of treasure buried in Utah County. So I told my husband, and I don't think he believed it.
No, I didn't.
He didn't think that that was something that was legit, but I was like, well, let's just try it. So we downloaded the app, and the next day for like our little date night, we went and did a couple of the quests, the little local hunts around Provo, and we had a blast. We found some businesses in Provo that we didn't even know existed, some historic buildings. It's just like we got to know the town.
Cool.
We're like, this is really fun. And then they started releasing clues. So then as we got clues to the actual treasure, we started to involve more of like our family members.
We got a bunch of people involved into it and to help us out with the clues, because they're hard clues, right? The clues to the actual treasure were pretty difficult, and we we researched them. We had it narrowed down to Provo Canyon or American Fork Canyon, and we kind of get it narrowed closer and closer every time a clue would come out. And then one night, I mean, they started releasing the clues every night at midnight. And so we'd stay up till midnight every single night waiting for that next clue.
I think they've changed now. It's more like 6 or 7 in the morning, but for us it was midnight.
And it's only twice a week now, but for us it was midnight every day. We get a clue at midnight on a Thursday night? Thursday night, and we're like, that's the clue that pinpointed where it was.
What
like,
was that clue?
We figured it.
So we had it narrowed down to American Fork Canyon by that point in time, but the clue that we got that night was it said grinding wheat into flour, and so we figured out that had to be some sort of a mill, and so we figured out that there was a trailhead up American Fork Canyon.
Did you know there was a mill up American Fork Canyon? Or you had to research.
We researched, yeah. So since we knew it was up there, as soon as we were like mill, we're like, there's got to be a mill somewhere.
Yeah, we saw it. Yeah, so we researched. We looked on Google and we looked for anything that had to do with a mill up American Fork Canyon. Sure enough, we fell upon the trailhead
that was called Mill Creek Trailhead.
Mill Creek Trailhead.
And so I said to my husband at about 12:15, I'm like, I think we have to go right now. And he just looked at me. He's like,
this is 12:15 at night?
At night, yes. He's like, it's past midnight. And I was like, okay. And so we both laid in bed for about like 15 minutes, just like our minds racing. And then finally he turns to me. He's like, we got to go.
We got to go right now.
It's like, okay.
So we just grabbed our caffeinated beverage and our little shovel and a screwdriver, because some of the clues had said to bring stuff like that. So we grab it and we head up the canyon.
Had headlamps on.
Headlamps. I mean, it's, we finally get up there about 12:45 and we just start hiking. And we follow, so we have these clues that tell us you got to go this many paces, you got to look for these clues, look for different snags and things that resemble things. So we ended up seeing all that stuff and we're like, this is it.
Totally, it's got to be here.
Sense. So we look and we're in this pasture and we're looking for anything we can find, any movement of dirt or whatever we can see.
At night.
Yes, this is 2 a.m. So we got our headlamps and it's too dark and we couldn't find it. So about 3 o'clock, we're like, we're gonna come back at 6:30 in the morning, and when it's lighter, and see if we can find it.
But we live in Provo, so we're like, there's no sense in driving all the way back to Provo. So we actually drove our car back to Tipple Fork Reservoir parking lot and just slept in our car for a few hours.
Yeah.
Not the most restful night of sleep.
No.
But then about 6:15, we started seeing cars drive by. So my husband was like, Amy, you gotta wake up. There's people going for the treasure.
Cars going for the treasure.
So we pull into the parking lot of where the trailhead was, and there was a car in front of us that went straight, but the car behind us pulled in right next to us. So I'm like, oh, what if they're here for the treasure? And so I
hadn't even put the car in park, and she was already across the bridge.
I was like running. I'm like,
she was gone.
No one else is finding my treasure.
So I put the car in park and I catch up to her and we start digging and searching. And at this point, we're seeing that some people had been there before.
Because we'd seen a few little holes and things like that.
And we actually found a hole that was like almost a perfect rectangle. And I thought that's had to have been like where the treasure was.
Because it was right next to like a fallen log that was part of one of our clues.
So I thought that's got to be. And I was kind of like bummed out. I was like, it's got to be found by now.
For a minute, you thought
we thought it had been found. Yes.
But you kept on looking anyway?
Kept on looking, yes.
For a little bit.
So then a few minutes later, we hear voices on the trail. So I said to Mike, I'm like, we got to be quiet. We don't want to give him away that it's in this meadow. And we see over, because you could see the trail, there were two guys. One of them was a pretty bigger built guy with long hair, a big beard, and they're both carrying giant shovels. So I got a little nervous. I'm like, I think they're coming for the treasure. We got to hide. And sure enough, they came right over to the meadow. So they walked up to us and we're like, I think we're looking for the same thing here. And they had told us that they had been looking in that meadow as well and had it narrowed down to there. So we looked for about a half an hour longer, hoping we could find it, but we kind of felt like we still had one other clue we had to crack in order to be able to actually pinpoint down. And we didn't want to destroy the meadow just digging random holes. We wanted to know where to dig before we kind of were defacing nature or like digging. So we kind of were like, you know what, tonight's been a super fun adventure. We loved it. We're going to remember this night for the rest of our lives because we were like having such a fun adventure.
At 3 in the morning. You don't do that every day.
He had to work on Friday, so we kind of were like, you know what, let's just go back home. We'll kind of call it a day. We'll see if Treasure Finders posts anything that like the treasure's been found, and we'll just kind of go see what happens, and we'll try to figure out that last clue. We're like, maybe we'll wait up till midnight tonight and see what happens. But we went home that day. He went into work. We messaged Treasure Finders to see if the prize had been found, and they wrote us back and said, not to our knowledge. So then we kind of had like a re-motivation to go back up there and start looking.
So I had to work, and she took a little nap, and she, her parents wanted to see where we were looking because they were involved. Because, like I said, we had family that were helping us out with the clues and stuff. So her parents were like, we want to go see where you guys have looked and where you think the treasure was. So she grabs her parents, and they head up the canyon, 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah. And we got to the parking lot of the trailhead, and it was completely full. So I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people here looking for the treasure. But it's actually a pretty popular trailhead. So when we got to the meadow where we knew the treasure was, there wasn't anyone in the meadow. But I kind of told my parents, I'm like, it's this many paces, it's here. I showed them all the signs, and they were like, oh yeah, it's definitely got to be in this meadow. And so we kind of started trying to look at like huge logs that possibly had been like moved or big rocks. So we were looking around to see if we could find anything. And we weren't seeing anything, and so we could tell that the boys that had been up there had actually moved quite a few logs as well. And we could see that there were some other holes that had been dug. So we were kind of just like exploring around for fun, trying to see like based off the clues we had in the area if we could find it. And I saw a big log that I wanted to move, but it was too heavy to move. And right behind that log there was a rock. So I asked my dad to come and move the rock for me. And he did, and I could see underneath that rock that the dirt was soft. And so I was like, oh my goodness, that's disturbed dirt. So our shovel we had a shovel on one end and a pickaxe on the other. So I handed the shovel to my dad, and he took the pickaxe side and hit the dirt to see how soft it was, and I heard a clank. I was like, and so I start kind of like, my heart's racing, I'm hyperventilating. They had asked on the Facebook page to record it if you found the treasure. So I hurried and handed the phone to my mom.
She's like shaking. She's like, Mom, record.
You video. Oh no, you video.
Oh my gosh. Where's the screwdriver?
It's in the backpack.
Oh my gosh.
Video us. Are you videoing us, Mom?
Oh my gosh.
I think we just found some baby money.
Oh, I'm so excited.
That's a great idea. She says, I want Dad to move this one.
Yeah, I saw the rock. I'm like, Dad, will you come lift it?
Fantastic.
Let's see.
Yeah. This is exciting. Dad lifted the rock.
I lifted the rock and then I started tapping with the shovel.
And we heard it.
And we could hear it. There was something. Where's the other screw?
Oh my God, I dropped it because I'm too excited. Thank you guys for coming up with me.
Oh, what a blessing. Oh,
It's kind of clear the way
we're finding the buried
I'm too excited to
treasure.
even screw.
We think we found the buried treasure that Amy and Mike have been searching for with all these clues.
So happy.
Unbelievable.
Oh, my mates, you be the finder of the Blackbird's treasure of so many medallions. The value of that be $3,000. Call Admiral or Abe to let him know you found the treasure. Abe will give you $3,000 in exchange for the treasure, or you can keep the silver, but please call Abe to let him know the treasure be found. Abe also has a bonus for you. And stuff. So
She was
anyway,
so excited. Well,
yeah.
she was excited. I was at home working.
So we uncover it and see that there's like an electrical box, and they had told us to bring a screwdriver, so we had to unscrew the 4 screws, and I'm shaking so much that I can't even get the screws undone, hyperventilating. And one of the motivations we had to find the treasure is we've struggled with infertility, and as anybody who's struggled with that knows, the treatments are really expensive. So that was one of the motivations, was if we found this $3,000, it could go towards our treatments. And so I'm like shaking, like maybe I just found us some baby money to help us get our family grown. And so we got the screws all undone, and I lifted the lid, and there was a wooden treasure chest in there. So my mom was kind of screaming and excited, and my dad was just calm, like not really believing it until he actually saw it. But once I pulled out that chest, it had 100 pieces of actual silver in it, and then it had
100 troy ounces.
Yeah, 100 troy ounces of silver, which was valued at over $3,000. And then it had a note from Admiral Abe, who is the founder of Treasure Finders, that told us that we're the founders of Blackbeard's treasure, and to call him, and he would exchange the pieces of silver for money, and that even if we wanted to keep the silver, he wanted to know that we'd found it. And so I was so excited, like in shock. Also sad at the same time, because I'm like, my husband who searched all night with me isn't here. But it's not like I could rebury the treasure, because I thought someone else might find it. And so what we chose to do was, there's no cell phone service up American Fork Canyon. So I turned off my phone so that like I wouldn't have service when I got out of the canyon, so he couldn't see that I was like almost home. And then I got home and knocked on the door with the treasure chest in hand. And then you can tell yourself.
I was half asleep at the time because we were dead tired. I was dead tired. She got a nap in. And so I was functioning off 3 hours of sleep. So I was just out of it. I thought, who's knocking at the door at 6 o'clock? And so I go and answer the door, and Amy's just standing right there with the treasure chest with a big grin on. Holy crap, you found it. And that's what I told her, and I gave her a big hug. I said, that's so exciting. We just found $3,000 of actual money. So we were, oh man, it was super exciting.
It was fun.
So
we FaceTimed. My sister was in the hospital, and so she had just had a surgery. We were able to FaceTime her, and she was so excited. It brightened her day. We were able to like tell all of our family members that had helped. When we told like his mom, it brought her to tears, because she knew how hard we'd been working to get money to try to grow our family. So it was just fun. It was really a huge blessing in our life at the time, and kind of the boost that we needed. And so we were able to call Admiral Abe and tell him, and Abe and Mike became instant friends, because Mike talked in a pirate voice when he called him to tell him we'd found the treasure. And so it was fun. They brought us these cool treasure finder hats. He brought us the $3,000 in cash that we have been able to put towards treatments, and we swapped the coins.
You had the choice of keeping the coins,
yes,
and taking the cash, and you took the cash.
Honestly, the coins were really cool, but at the time our priority was trying to grow our family, and so we needed that cash, and so we swapped them out.
We could have kept the silver, and who knows, it would have been worth a lot more money later, but we wanted the money now to start our family, so we swapped it out for cash. But
yeah, so we were able to do that, and it was fun. And then we've continued to do other quests in the future, hunts in the future, and it's just been fun. Like, they're fun date nights for us. Like, they're fun just to get out and about. I'm an incredibly extroverted person, and so during COVID and not being able to be around a lot of friends, doing these little hunts and getting like family and friends involved, even if it was over like the internet and text, was really fun. So we loved it.
It was good for her to be able to get out, but even not even just getting out, just we saw new parks that we'd never been to before, new businesses we'd never heard of, new food places.
Yeah.
It is. It really is.
We learned of like new merchants. Like, we got good deals.
You searched history.
We did.
You learned things.
In fact, you'll like this. The very first hunt that we did was a Central Provo one, just right around downtown Provo, and it took you to all these old homes, these old pioneer homes, and it talked about who lived there, what their names were, how the style of the home, how it was built. I mean, it was really cool. We got hooked. From that point on, we're like, okay, this is us.
Yeah, our favorite quests are definitely the walking ones. We love like walking around parks together, or walking around downtown areas. But we've had fun on the driving ones too, because we've seen it. Like, there are so many parks in Utah County, and I'm sure Salt Lake County too, that will happen as these hunts continue, that we were like, we have all these fun places to go.
Idea.
With each other.
So they just started one today, a new one, and it's like 50,000.
A lot more. A lot
Yeah.
more than a lot of money.
Like that.
Yeah.
And you guys are helping her out. Tell me about this one that's starting today.
So-
and how, if somebody wanted to get involved in it, where do they go to get the app?
Sure.
Tell me about it.
So Abe reached out to us, and he wanted us, because like Amy said, I had an instant connection with him. I get along with Abe, and he reached out and he says, "You guys want to help me out?" And we said, "We'll help you out with like these rendezvous and with these activities, as long as we're not eliminated from the chance of getting the 50,000. We don't want to be cut out of the search." So we have no idea. Like, he hasn't told us any information, no secret, no hidden nothing. So the way you do it, in fact, Abe's the one that's going to bury the treasure, and I don't think he's telling a single soul.
I think he's the only
where
person
it's
that knows.
be. I don't even know if his wife will even know where it's going to be.
He's the only person that creates all the clues.
He creates the clues. So the way you get it is you download the app. It's called Treasure Finders. You can see from our shirts and our hats. It's the Treasure Finders app, and it's on the App Store and Google Play Store as well. So you go download it, and what you do is you do these quests around town. And these quests actually force you to locations. It's like geocaching, or basically you have to go. You'll find these little clues that'll take you to a spot. So say there's a park called Liberty Park. These clues will lead you to Liberty Park. You get there, and when you're there, you click a button that says dig for treasure. It's just a little fun button.
Treasure
push,
chest.
a little treasure chest. And you click that, and if you're within a certain like 30, 50 feet of that location, it pops up and says, "You found
Treasure
treasure."
found.
And then it gives you the next clue. Once you do that hunt, which is usually 5 to 7 little
Stops,
locations
yeah.
you have to go, then you get an actual clue that leads you to the treasure.
So when we did our initial hunt, they actually were releasing like a clue a day. And so it was quite a time commitment. Like almost every day after work, I was out doing hunts. On weekends, we would do several hunts together because you can get ahead. Like, so say they've released up to, like in a few weeks, they will have released maybe like 6 clues. If you've done 10 hunts, then you're ahead. So as soon as they release a clue, you get that clue. So you can kind of get ahead on hunts.
If you're behind, you don't get the clue until you do.
Yeah.
a hunt.
So if someone doesn't hear about this for 2 or 3 weeks, it's not like they're out of the running.
They can
They
catch
can
up
still
easy.
catch up because you just have to do those few hunts and then you'll get the clues as you do them. But it's so once you get those clues, each clue leads you to the actual $50,000 treasure. So with those special clues that lead to the treasure, you just kind of I had them all written out on pieces of paper and had like different things connecting and stuff like that. It was
piecing it all together to figure it out.
Yeah, and then
fun.
the rendezvous that they're going to have twice a month is where they'll have this big wheel that people can come and spin, and you'll be able to get virtual pieces of 8 or pirate coins that will give you extra spins on this wheel. And I believe Abe said he's going to have 10 special clues at every rendezvous that's going to help people get closer to the actual treasure.
And those are not part of the app. Those are physical pieces of paper. I don't know if you want to grab one.
Yeah.
That you can only get at these rendezvous. So these ones, if you get one, you want to keep it secret because no one else has access to it unless they've spun the wheel and gotten one. So those are a little bit different, but they're a little bit extra clues to give you that small advantage towards.
So you don't necessarily need that, but it would help if you had it.
Exactly, yeah.
Help a lot.
So it kind of gives you a little extra edge, but I think you can accomplish a lot without them as well. But it's definitely, I mean, when you're going 50,000, you want any extra thing you can get.
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of people searching.
And so this is for the people that's in, Utah County, Salt Lake County, because
For now.
for now,
Yeah.
Abe wants to take it nationwide. He wants to go to other big cities as well and get it sponsored there. This only started, like Amy said, with less than a year ago. So this is fairly new.
And this is definitely the biggest and most exciting one yet, because I mean, we were thrilled beyond belief to find $3,000. So I can't imagine how much excitement someone's going to have when they find this 50,000.
Right.
and so man, you guys are actually, there's a lot of treasure hunters like me, but you're actual treasure finders.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
Thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
With that said, that's our wrap.